Back with Wilkins. Absolutely magnificent from Ray Wilkins. Well with the header, but it's Durant again. The last chance perhaps for Rangers. A chance is on for goal. Jock makes it 2 apiece. Johnston, and he scored.
Against Cantona, nicely left there by Haitley, and here's the break on. It's Iain Durant, through to Haitley. McCoist on the far side. Gary Speed is racing back to provide the cover. Here's Ali McCoist. Oh, he's done it! Ali McCoist for Rangers.
Here's Gascoigne now. Can he produce some magic? Still it's Gascoigne. Oh yes! A tremendous goal by Gascoigne. It's been very evenly balanced. Here's Gascoigne now, pushing forward, showing great determination. Oh, he's done it again!
There's a slip by O'Neill, and Laudrup to win. Rangers look for a goal and get one in the 8th minute from Brian Laudrup. Celtic's wall is 5 strong, but Alberts gets it through. The hammer has torn Celtic apart.
It's Barry Ferguson. Oh yes! The captain shows the way. Here now is Neil McCann. Is there going to be a twist in the tail? Lovenkrands! Yes, there is! Peter Lovenkrands! It had to be him! He has surely won the Scottish Cup!
Like this, here's Davis, put in by Darshville. Davis! Darshville! They've nicked it! Away from home! Manchester, brace yourself. Rangers are coming!
Bit of stoppage time. Kevin Thompson's corner. It's Bagheera! Borat stops it. Boyd! Edu has put it in! Morris Edu! Right at the end!
There's no doubt Vice has made an impact since he has come onto the park. Jelavic is it back. It's Jelavic for Rangers! It's Scotland!
Hello and welcome to the This Is Ibrox podcast. This is our match preview for the upcoming Old Firm derby tomorrow between Celtic and Rangers in the East End of Glasgow. So I've got two fantastic guests to preview it tonight. Ian, first of all, how are you?
Nervous, anxious, everything similar. Yeah, just feeling good. Happy to be here, of course.
Yeah, I'm glad I've got you on then because I feel exactly the same way. Jock, how about you? How's things?
I'm just like Ian, going through the motions, but I've got the battle fever on, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it's very much the eve of these games, isn't it, where you can feel the tension kind of building. And yeah, I think early bed for me tonight and get up, and hopefully I feel a wee bit better leading into this game tomorrow. So yeah, for everyone watching and getting involved, we're going to have a wee talk about our kind of 11s, our selected 11 going forward for tomorrow later on in the podcast. So maybe have a wee I think about that now, and we can talk about it later on. We'll bring up some of your comments. And yeah, just before we start, a wee reminder to subscribe to the channel. And if you enjoy the content, this is everything we're trying to do here. So yeah, that would be great. We appreciate that. So yeah, what we'll do is tonight, just to give you a summary of what we'll talk about, we'll go through kind of some of the comments from Michael Beale and James Tavernier today, pick out some things from that, and I'll ask Iain and Jock their take on some of the things that was mentioned. Then we'll maybe have a wee look at the game itself. How do we actually go on and approach this game? Because there's a lot of different opinions on Twitter I've seen today of how people would approach the game, and Michael Beale's probably having that same thought tonight as well. And yeah, then we'll have a wee look at kind of some of the team selection queries, I suppose. There's a lot up in the air on who should play. And yeah, we'll get the guys' overall lineup and the scoreline. So well, I'll just touch on some of the press conference comments here, guys, and I'll bring you in on some of it. So Michael Beale had his press conference today. Obviously, the big news from that was that Nico Raskin is fit. He was also asked about away fans, which we've heard a lot about this week. He said that he He would obviously prefer it, but it's something they just have to go on with. He recognises that we started slow in both previous Old Firms and that has to change. He obviously feels that the team need to win this game to give themselves a chance at winning this league title. He thinks that we need to get closer to the amount of possession. It's a derby. The players have no time to wait. And it's crucial to be good in key moments and win both boxes, which is something we've heard Beale reference to before in terms of this both boxes terminology. Tavernier just quickly feels the players are confident. Talking has to be done on the pitch, which is an interesting comment because there's been a lot of that back and forth lately about, Rangers really responding to the media, whether it should be given too much away. Feels they need to perform for the 90 minutes and start strong. I thought this was an interesting one as well. He was asked about his relationship with Callum McGregor. I don't know if anyone noticed that today in the presser. That was a bit of a strange question. Listen, if they're friends off the park, that's fine. But I just thought it was a weird question leading up to an Old Firm. So yeah, we'll get into it. We'll come to you first on this one because we spoke about this in quite a few podcasts this week, but it'd be good to get both your takes on this. When it comes to away fans, right, there's obviously not going to be any away fans in the ground tomorrow. How do you feel about that? Do you think this could be an advantage for these Rangers players, that a disadvantage? I heard Tavernier speaking today saying that really for the majority of the game, they block the noise out from the crowd. And obviously when you're, you got a goal down or you score, you really notice it. But the majority of the game, you're not really focused on it. What do you think about no away fans overall? And is it something you want to see come back eventually?
From a personal point of view, I'd rather it came back. I don't like the whole no away fans thing. It just feels a bit tit for tat, a bit childish at this point. Like, just grow up a little bit. To do board thing, I think. But a good point that I can't remember if it was you or Reese made it on the Wednesday night pod is that we were slightly, I think, disadvantaged by the whole away fans sections, I'd say. I mean, if you go back sort of 10, 15 years, Celtic had the whole of the Broomloan, that whole stand. It was quite, I wouldn't say intimidating, but it was quite a powerful image, seeing that for players. And obviously it's going to pump up the Celtic players a bit more, whereas we're stuck in a corner. Don't think you can really see us watching on the telly, at least, and things like that. So I think it does give us a slight advantage in the sort of overall picture that we're not losing too much, like Tav says. It's going to block out that noise anyway, but it just takes away a little bit from the whole day, I think. But at the end of the day, we're going to look after our own, aren't we? And we have the demand to put the bums on seats. So I don't see it getting fixed anytime soon. Just one of those things we're going to deal with, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's good that you mentioned at the start of this that you had a good point coming from the podcast the other night, and I wanted to take ownership of it, but it was actually Reese that made that point, so I'm going to give him the credit there. Joe, what about yourself then? So there's a few comments coming in. I think Aldo not here saying the European allocation, in my opinion, maybe he feels that's the way it should go back to. What do you think about this? I agree with Ian. It is a wee bit tit for tat between the clubs. Is it just something you'd like to see them sort out eventually?
I don't know if it's something they will sort out eventually because it's been rumbling on for a while now. But personal experience, I think like Aldo says, the European allocation is enough because they've sat a couple of times in Ibrox and they've had that entire Broomloan stand and the place is rocking at half time, and it's went in their favour. It's spurred them on more than it's spurred us on because Ibrox was too quiet for my liking. You'd like to think that the stadium would react to what's happening when an entire stand's bouncing at half time, and the stadium didn't, and I think that contributes to what's happening on the park, especially at the start of the second half. So from own personal experience, I'd rather just stick with the European allocation because I think it's better. There's more Rangers fans in the stadium making noise than 8,000 Celtic fans.
Yeah, I just wonder how it's ever going to go back to what it was before because the club have decided to sell season tickets now. It's like, how do you change that going forward? It just seems to be that the clubs are going to have to come together and try and find a way forward. But yeah, of course, it can't be to the detriment of our support. There has to be a common ground there. So listen, let's hope they can find that. I just want to pick out here, and I think we might discuss it going forward. I noticed a lot of comments saying that supposedly Connor Goldson's out for tomorrow. So I really appreciate you guys making me more nervous about this fixture. Thanks very much. Let's hope that someone's been giving some misinformation out there because I don't know if I'll be able to cope if I see the lineup and Connor Goldson isn't in there. But yeah, we'll come on to teams later on. Jock, we'll stick with yourself then. this was just an interesting point from the press conference today and Beale's kind of demeanour changed when he answered about this. He was saying that, we need to get closest to them out of possession. He was saying players don't have, it's a derby. They don't have time really to settle in. They have to get right up against the opposition from the start. So just basing on that, how important is it that we do match Celtic in that kind of first 20, 25 minutes? We all know how Celtic play. They're not going to change. So even if we are under, extended pressure in that period, how important is it for us to match it? How important is it for us to follow runs, make tackles, make interceptions, be solid at the back? How crucial is that for a result tomorrow?
If you don't, we could be 2 or 3-0 down after 15, 20 minutes. I think Beale have obviously picked up on the last couple of games at Parkhead where we've sort of been on the wrong end of doing, because we haven't picked up men. This multi-ball system that they use where they keep the pace up from early on. We have to match it from the first whistle. We can't let anybody free. We can't let anybody make passes, because again, that's another thing that happened in the semi-final, where we're giving them too much space to make passes, and then they picked us off. You can't do that at Parkhead, because 1 turns into 2, turns into 3 very quickly, as we've seen. So we need to be at them. We need to be on their backsides from the first whistle and in their faces.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, Craig Andrews said the same here. First 20, 30 minutes, really, really crucial for us. And yeah, I have to agree with that. I think we've seen now in the past year and a half that Rangers have went there and that they just haven't been able to live with it. And that's probably, I think you have to give credit to Celtic for the way they start, but we have just not been able to match it. And that's really disappointing. Iain, what about yourself? How do you feel in terms of the overall result? Are you very much the same as Jock and myself that, we have to match the intensity from the start? There can't be any time to bed in for these players. It's too late to go down 1 or 2-0 and start performing like we did at Hampden. The game's finished.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think it sort of goes back to the fans issue as well. The fact that there's going to be 60,000 plus fans wanting, I think they expect a 2-3-4-0 win here. So as soon as they get that first, they're up for it. Our players I hate saying it, but we know what a lot of our players do, and they shy away and they start making that easy pass. They start playing scared, which there's 4, 5, 6 players that I can think of that would start playing that way. So I think it's so key, like that comment from Craig said, first 20, 30 minutes, quiet the crowd, control the game. Not to go into a spoiler, but it's why I'm thinking a back 5, just to keep things, well, it was pre this Goldson chat, which is... ruined my night.
Don't remind me of that yet, right? We'll get on to that. I can't think about that right now.
Yeah, as I said, I was going for a back 5. Yeah, just with the sort of thinking of at least try and get to 20, 30, 40 minutes, keep it level, keep it quiet. And then I think the pace that we can hopefully have on the break, again, depends on the team we play, but the pace we can have at least coming off the bench can try and sort of nick it in that sense. But yeah, quiet the crowd, quiet the atmosphere, just chill everything out for the first part of the game's got to be the game plan, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that aspect there you're talking about, the crowd, is really, really important, because you want to give them something to be frustrated about early on. And I totally agree with you. I think there'll be a lot of Celtic fans sitting back tonight thinking it could be another 3 or 4-0 tomorrow. I don't know if I like being in that, but I probably do like being in that position where they feel they're going to batter us. I don't know why. I just feel that there's maybe more bragging rights after that if Celtic fans feel they're going to batter you that way. But yeah, I think it's really important that Rangers start well. And I think that's purely mentality. That's nothing to do with any of the tactics, that we heard a lot of Hampden to do with midfield selection that day, and maybe Michael Beale getting it wrong. But I don't think it... I think really the mentality that day wasn't there either. John Lundstrom and Glenn Kamara choosing not to follow runners is just, what can Beale do from a tactical point of view if your midfield aren't going to follow runners like that? So yeah, we need to see a strong start from Rangers tomorrow, and yeah, let's hope we see it. I'll stick with you then in the next point, because it's maybe a bit silly to ask this, but I'm going to anyway, right? Michael Beale was asked about, what does this mean for the overall season? Can this result be something to push on for the league title? How do you view this tomorrow? Because I have heard a lot of Rangers fans really just focusing on performance tomorrow. Result, maybe, of course, you want to win every Old Firm, right? I'm not taking that away. That, of course, you do, right? But I've read a lot of people thinking we need to perform tomorrow, right? Because for a build up to this semi-final. How do you view it? Do you think that, of course, you want a performance, but we need to win, and if you win, does that revitalise this league? How do you look at it?
I'm in need to win camp, to be honest. Obviously, I appreciate it's a hard place to go with a terrible record there, even sort of demotion seasons we weren't great there. Yeah. So it's a very tough place to go, but like you say, getting that win just puts so much new belief into this squad. I mean, like we're saying, there's a couple of new faces. Raskin and Cantwell have been massive since they came in January, but there's a lot of scars, there's a lot of negativity around some of the existing players who are going to be playing in that semi-final. So from their point of view, I think they need to prove it to themselves that they can win this game, that is just 11v11. Yes, Celtic are very good, but we've matched them since Bale came in. They've not been any better than we have. So we need to go in there with that belief, get the result, get the win, and start trying to turn the tide a little bit. Because this last 18 months plus has just been horrific from a Rangers point of view, really. So yeah, start getting some wins on the board, start turning that tide, like I'm trying to say, and getting it on the front foot before the semi-final. Because if we do get another drubbing, then, like I say, the heads go down from the fans, from the players, and we're just going to be not looking forward to a semi-final, put it that way.
Yeah, I think we'll be dreaded it if that happens. Yeah. What's interesting as well is there are a lot of players within this squad that had such a good record in the Old Firm under Steven Gerrard, and I think, was it 2 years they went without losing a fixture? That might be right. Someone can maybe correct me in the comments. I think we're now at the point against Celtic and Old Firm fixtures. I don't think we've won in 90 minutes since that Hollander winner at the beginning of last season. So it is quite a long time. And I think, listen, I've hoped that these guys can kind of find that form that they had before in these Old Firm fixtures and try and get a result tomorrow. Granted, of course, I think it might be the end of the road for a lot of these guys when it comes to the fixture in general. But I'd like to think they can try and find something within for the next 3 games, and some of them potentially going out on a high. There's a few comments here. Curry Muncher, he's saying that it's more about setting a marker for next season. I can understand that view as well. I think I'm kind of in between. I'm kind of on the fence here what actually tomorrow means, to be honest with you. Louise Wise says most of these players need to go if we lose tomorrow, and I don't think Louise will be alone in that, to be honest. I think there'll be a lot of people calling for his tomorrow if we don't get that result. Jock, what about yourself then? Again, I'll say it, bit of a silly question, maybe because of where we are in the league right now, but how do you feel about performance tomorrow, but the overall result? You think this could, bring something back for this league title potentially?
I think performance first and foremost, because if you put in a good performance, more often than not, you're going to get a positive result from it. I think this is a massive month for us, and this is the start of it. There's no international football now. This is bread and butter. Is going to be league games and the build up to the Scottish Cup semi-final and hopefully the final. I think if, say, we do win tomorrow, takes it down to 6 points. Our away form's been good, so you'd like to think we'll continue that away form. Ibrox, we're getting results. Performances aren't there, but we're getting results. If we keep ticking away and taking points off the teams we need to, 6 points could potentially be 3 points going after another Old Firm at Ibrox. That's pressure that this Celtic team haven't been under since probably the season where we won at Parkhead before Christmas and then we fell away. That's pressure that a lot of these Celtic players have never faced before. Postecoglou's never had that. So if we can get that down to 6 points, something might creep into the back of their mind. This Scottish League's been decided with 9 points with so many games to go before. It's not impossible, but I think we need to get the result tomorrow. If we get the result tomorrow, it sets us in good stead for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think, I don't mean to be too negative here. I personally think the league's probably too far now. I think just with the fixture list remaining. But what I will agree with is this result could be really, really important when it comes to that semi-final. And I think if you can put some doubt within this Celtic team there's an opportunity to get there. Listen, we don't like saying it, right? But Celtic are a good team, okay? So we have to recognise that first and foremost. But they're definitely not a team that you can't get at. They're not unstoppable as much as you'd like to read that in the press, right? They're not. So we've seen this Rangers team compete with them. The last 2 fixtures, there's really not been a lot between the 2 teams. I don't believe Rangers really showed their best at Hampden that day, and I don't think Celtic did either. So, listen, I don't think there's a lot between the 2 teams. And I think a result tomorrow could really, really start to put doubt in them. And listen, our target has to be that Scottish Cup, right? As fans, I think our target's the Scottish Cup. I'd like to think the players believe that the league title's still there, but the Scottish Cup is a necessity. And if that gives us a better chance in that semi-final by winning tomorrow, then we've got to go for it. There was a comment there I wanted to pick out, but I can't. Yeah, so from Cute Kanji said, regarding the players, I think they have to go regardless of the result tomorrow. Too many false dawns from them. Let us down later on. Squad badly needs an overhaul regardless. Now, that's definitely an opinion that a lot of Rangers fans share. And I think we probably do plan to do some sort of podcast at the end of the season talking about this squad overhaul. So I'll leave it till then. But listen, that is a fair opinion. I think a lot of people have that. So what we'll do is then we'll have a wee look at the fixture tomorrow. I'm keen to get both Iain and Jock's views on how to actually approach this game. Iain gave us a wee bit of a insight into his thinking there when it came to the kind of back 3 or the back 5. He's maybe going to have to quickly change that if the rumours are true in this chat that I'm reading. I really hope it's not. But yeah, both teams come into this fixture in great form. I think they've both won, 10 consecutive fixtures of winning the league?
Yep.
So they're both flying. Results-wise, I think a lot of Rangers fans would maybe feel that we could have performed better in some of these games. And I think, actually, if you ask a lot of Celtic fans, they would probably say the same thing. I don't think they've been sparkling in all of their fixtures as well. So both teams look like they're in really good form in terms of results, but maybe not in terms of performance. That may be a good and a bad for both sides going into this. So we'll start with yourself first, Jock. This is a bit of a broad question, right? So you can take this anywhere you want and we'll maybe jump off it and we'll get you involved. For you, how do Rangers approach this game tomorrow? You can take it from a mentality point of view, you can take it from a tactical point of view, whatever you want, but how do the team go into this fixture tomorrow? Maybe don't talk about specific players in general, we'll come to that, but just in terms of an approach to the game, how do you see it playing out? How do you want it to play out?
Approach for my notes, I've wrote grit, desire and focus. Something I think that we haven't seen since Gerrard games, Old Firm games where it came to these games. Like the like you mentioned, the Hollander game at Ibrox, we were up against it, but we had the grit, we had the heart, we had the focus, and we got the 3 points for that game, even though we were under the cosh. Previously, these sort of games, especially under going back here, but under Walter Smith, we would have made it a fight. We would have took the technical side of it out, and we would have done the nitty gritty and sucked the quality out of the game, but then seen it over the line with set pieces and whatnot. So I think that's what we need to do. I think we need to sort of take the technical aspect of the game out a bit and just get dirty, but get aggressive in our play, close them down, chasing them down, don't give them space to breathe, and just really, really put in a solid 90 minutes worth of running and determination and focus.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that, especially the kind of physical point you touched on there. I think I said this in the group chat earlier today. That for me is probably the most important thing going into these fixtures. I think we've seen that in the game last year at Hampden where we won in extra time. Rangers were extremely physical that day. I remember after it a lot of complaints basically that I think it was John Lundstrom didn't receive a red card that day, and big bad Rangers were too physical. But that is how to get at this Celtic team, I believe. I think it is to try and listen. You don't want red cards, right? But you need to play on the edge, and I think that's the best way forward for us. I think there was a comment there that I wanted to pick out regarding this. Where was that? Yeah, Paul McGarrigle said, Rangers start the game fast, hard, full on battle beaver, never stop, no silly mistakes, stand up as men. I mean, I'm I'm ready to go after that, Paul. So I appreciate that. That's definitely what I'd like to see tomorrow. Ian, what about yourself then? So Jock's touched upon there, the kind of desire, the focus. I'm going to give you the kind of tactical aspect, considering you touched upon it earlier when it came to the back three. How do you want to see Michael Beale approach this tomorrow? Maybe comparing it to how he approached it at Hampden that day, where I think we can all say that he probably got it wrong. What would you like to see tweaked going into this fixture tomorrow? Of course, being aware that it is away at Parkhead, so the team, the game's going to have a wee bit of a different feel to it. How would you approach it?
It's funny, there's the way that I would want to approach it, and there's the way that I think Beale will approach it. So if I look at what I would want to see, it's that kind of back five, a solid two in midfield, probably Jack and Lundstrom. I want Rask in there as well, but Jack and Lundstrom, I think it goes back to what we were saying a minute ago. We want to be aggressive. We want bastards in the team, pretty much. We want to be fouling them constantly, niggly fouls, stopping the play, breaking it up, standing in front of the ball, not switching off, all these sort of basic things that teams come to Ibrox and do a lot. 90%, I mean, we saw Dundee United at the weekend playing a back nine and Stephen Fletcher up front. I don't want to go that extreme, but the whole sort of time wasting when we need to, just chilling everything out, and just being a bit bastardy, to be honest. What I think Beale will do is a bit different. I think he, looking back at the Gerrard era and the big European away games, it was always that very narrow 4-3-3 where your wingers are 10s, they're tucked right in, everything's very central, and you just sort of let the team have the ball out wide. I think that is probably the way to play against Celtic, because like we're saying, they're very technical in the inside. They've got players who like the quick passes, and we saw in the League Cup final, it was Kamara not tracking Moy. Lundstrom was guilty of it a few times, and it just the amount of space that either Moy or Hatate would find himself in. So I can see Bale's thinking of just bring everything in, stop them, like at source kind of thing. I know Hatate's might not be out, which is, I don't like saying it, but it should be a big plus for us, really. But they have a couple other players who can do that same role. So I can see Bale very narrow, very compact. Maybe as the game goes on, get a little bit more expansive, put a little bit more pace onto from the bench. But I think that's how we'll set up anyway, and I think he's quite right to do so.
Yeah, I think that was the way he approached it at Ibrox that day, and he kept showing them wide, because I remember sitting with my dad that day, and the Celtic fullbacks were getting it quite wide that day, and he was, you need to pressure them, you need to put pressure, and I'm like, no, but watch where they're trying to show the ball. So they were trying to show the ball wide all the time, and basically they were sitting, I think he sat Ryan Kent on Callum McGregor that day, and it made a big difference, right? I think that's probably the quietest I've seen Callum McGregor in an Old Firm for a long time. So I agree with you, that probably will be the way he goes. We'll have a wee look here at some of the comments. Jim Back says, be brave in possession, aggressive in defence, don't give them time to press well as a team. I think, yep, that would be absolutely perfect. Nicholas Moore saying, our passes needs to be good tomorrow, can't afford to give away too much possession. And Curry Muncher here, he says, close them down, give them no space, and harass them from the first minute. That's an interesting point here then. So I'll stick with yourself then, Ian. I think we've seen a couple of, I was going to say strange aspects of Rangers play at Hampden a few weeks ago, but I can understand why he went for it, Michael Beale. We were very, very direct that day. It was very much get the ball forward as quickly as possible to Sakala and Kent and see if we can make chances. Yeah. And we completely bypassed that midfield. We also didn't really press them high that day either. And if we were doing it, we weren't doing it effectively, because Sakala was just being bypassed every single time. Yeah. Is that, you've just spoke about your kind of approach there in terms of Michael Beale. Do you think he is definitely going to go back to that possession-based, press high from the front approach away at Parkhead? Because these are all the words he's given in press conferences, and I do remember him saying it before the Hampden game, and we didn't play that way. So what do you think? Is this very much he's trying to keep people guessing, or do you think now he's had that bad experience of Hampden, and this is very much, I'm going to put my stamp on this team now, and this is how we're going to play?
I think it's a little bit of both of those aspects, but I also think it's partly that these players, a lot of them have had like 4 or 5 different managers and 4 or 5 different tactical styles and things. And at that point, it was quite, I know it had a month or so away for Gio, but it's a lot of information to take on. Whereas at this point, I would think that the team are more suited to Beale, albeit it's the same personnel, it's the same guys, but they've had that extra time, they've had a good confident run of winning games. You'd hope that they now buy into it a little bit more, maybe some that hadn't or just hadn't adjusted to the change. Again, a couple of comments say about being brave. I think that's massive tomorrow, because if things aren't going well from the start, maybe if even not conceding, but if we're giving away some corners and the crowd are up for it, just we need to keep to the plan as best possible. Even if it comes to going 1-0 down, as long as we keep it 1-0 for a while, we're still very much in the game. But another good aspect to this is hopefully that we've got a few different tactical positions to go from. Like, again, going back to Wednesday's pod, I think this one might have been yourself, so you can take some credit for this. It's when you mentioned Lundstrom playing could give that flexibility of being a midfielder, dropping into defence.
Yep.
Again, I don't want to see him start at centre-back. I think we saw that experiment a couple of times in Europe, especially as like the right-sided centre-back. It just did not work. But like we're saying, if we're up against it at certain points, it's fine to just drop in, make it a 5 at the back, make sure we're compact and clever about it. Whereas we've got that flexibility that once we ride that storm, move up a bit, switch to the back 4 again, just kind of keep Celtic guessing a little bit. So hopefully we've got quite a lot of flexibility in what we're trying to do tomorrow.
Yeah, I think tactical flexibility is a big thing there. And I think I spoke about this post-match after Dundee United the other day, that I thought it was interesting that we actually played pretty much a 4-2-3-1 against Dundee United, and we've not really seen that under Beale lately. And obviously then we continued to see the 3 at the back later on in the game. So I think we do have a squad there that can be tactically flexible. And if Michael Beale's trying to get the best out of that, then that's good. I just wanted to pick up on a point you said, Ian, there for Jock in terms of bravery, because there's different ways people can view bravery, I suppose. But for me, it's being brave to always show for the ball. You know, defenders trying to continue to play out, continue to press high if they feel there's a bit of a risk. There's that possibility to win the ball. How do you feel about bravery, Jock, tomorrow? You know, is this everything you want to see? Because again, going back to that Hampden game, I remember that day, Maeda, and I think it was, they played Rogic Kai that day, and they did not stop pressing us, and we continued to play. And listen, we got the result at the end of the day. How important is that for this Rangers team tomorrow to go into that atmosphere and really enjoy it, relish it, and show bravery? That's
it, like you say, it's the atmosphere. It's a couple of times now that the players have sort of built it in that atmosphere, and this is the time now where they need to show they can play in the atmosphere and take those passes and make those sort of risky passes that it's going to get us up the park, it's going to get us on the counter attack, it's going to get us away from where they want to be and put them under pressure. So brave, we need 11 brave men today. We need brave performance in midfield. We need a brave performance from left and right back. Everybody needs to be on the same page tomorrow. We really need our captain to show and lead from the front.
Yeah, definitely, because I think we've seen a few of these fixtures with James Tavernier where he's had a bit of a horrid day. Few's maybe being generous to them, but he's had quite a lot. So yeah, we need to see something from the captain tomorrow. So Jock, I'll stick with yourself then, because Ian's picked out in this in terms of that back 3. Is that something you would like to see in this fixture tomorrow? Because we've seen it obviously sporadically. Is that something you'd be comfortable with if you see that example from the start tomorrow? Do you think you'll be more confident if you see that, less confident? How would you feel?
A back 3 is something I think it's still an experiment stage, isn't it? So it's going to be risky. You're asking for your 3 centre backs to be comfortable playing out from the back and pass because they're going to get pressed hard. You know that, so they're going to have to be sharp with their passing. They're going to have to be very selective with their passing. But then this goes back to your point about being brave with the ball, commanding the ball, taking the ball on, taking the ball in risky situations, risky areas, and start and play. Davies in that, confident with the ball. Shooter seems to be good in that. So if you're going by what the chat says, maybe Shooter might have to come in tomorrow. I think it make me more nervous. I'll put it that way. I'll be more nervous if we start that way. But if we can play into the game with it and it works, then I don't see why we can't use it going forward.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I think I'll be more nervous going into that fixture tomorrow if I see that back three, and it's not because I don't think the players are capable of it, or if Michael Beale's not got them set up to do it correctly. I think it's just because it's the unknown, isn't it? And especially in a fixture of that magnitude, I would be a wee bit tense. And I was when I seen it with Van Bronckhorst in Europe, they obviously worked out so well. But when he first started doing it, I can't actually remember we were playing. Was it Dortmund at home?
Dortmund at home, yeah.
And he flipped it. And obviously we got a bit of a chase in that first half. I believe it was 2-1 at half time to Dortmund. And he changed it. And I can remember being in the stand thinking, what is he doing? What is he doing? And it was a masterstroke, right? So I think for me, it's just the unknown. I just wouldn't be sure. Iain, this is your time. You can tell us. You said you were planning to play a back three or a back five tomorrow. Why do you think this should be the approach going into this fixture?
It sort of links into what Jock said. For a back three or a back five, however you might spin it, you need your centre-backs to be very composed. You need them to be good on the ball. You need them to be comfortable. And you need them to really accept the ball and turn and play it the right ways. I think we've got three centre-backs who are arguably the best in the league at playing that way. Davies, very cultured left foot. He always makes that sort of pass into midfield. He'll bypass pressing lines. John Souttar's one of the most creative defenders I've maybe ever seen in terms of his passing and his ability on the ball. And then Goldson's fine, sort of making that pass to Tav. He's also got that long ball in him, the switch to Kent that we were so dominant with, especially in Europe last season. So all three have that skill set. I think if you look at the games that Celtic have struggled in at home, I think it was a sort of 80th minute goal against Hibs to break the deadlock. Hibs had a back five. Dundee United, I think, was another late goal. They had a back five. And I'm not saying we're going to compare ourselves to those kind of levels of teams, of course not. But it's a different element I don't think Celtic face too often in an Old Firm game. And whatever we've been doing recently hasn't been working. So why not try something new? And yes, I know you don't want to experiment in this kind of fixture, but when you've got the semi-final coming up, if we play the back five tomorrow, it works to a T. You're then set up perfectly for that one. I totally appreciate Jock saying it as an experiment, which it is, but why not? Like I feel like it's a risk worth taking, to be honest. You look at our team, there's no right winger still. I don't feel comfortable putting a right winger from that whole squad into right wing. You're shoehorning someone in there. Left wing, Kent's not exactly been firing all season. So it just feels like the width could come from the fullbacks, who are sort of wing backs, and you've got your back three sitting there, sort of more stationary, just being defensive when they need to be. But like I say, being on the ball and try to start attacks, I feel like we've got the personnel that makes it make perfect sense.
Yeah, it's funny because, like I said, I would be nervous seeing that lineup, but I agree with a lot of the logic you've put in place there in terms of why it would suit. And I don't think it's wrong to look at teams that maybe Celtic have struggled to create chances against, and if Hibs are turning up there and Dundee United are turning up there with a back five, if we have a higher level quality of player in these systems, you'd like to think you can make it more difficult for Celtic to create chances. And I think, listen, we've all seen Celtic scored the same goal against us twice at Hampton, right? They are going to look for those runs down the channels to the byline to cut the ball back, right? It's the way they play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry not to stop your
continue.
The last few Old Firms, especially when at Ibrox, Tav get done twice, and they score. Their two goals come from Tav defensively making, maybe not a mistake, but getting beat. So if you've got Goldson sitting sort of a lot closer to him, if Tav does get beat, there's Goldson. You're giving yourself that extra level of protection. The Goldson's not coming away from his spot because, like we say, they have the runners that will go to the line. They've got the guys coming in from midfield. It just gives you so much more cover when you know it's going to be an uncomfortable watch at times tomorrow with how relentless they are in attack at times. So if we've got an extra body in there to try and counter that, it's another positive.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think we've seen a lot of fixtures in Europe when we were in that back three that we were under sustained amount of pressure in these games, right? And you're kind of forfeiting the ball. And the expectation was that Rangers weren't going to have the ball. And there was plenty of times where Tavernier was beat or Lundstrom was beat and Goldson came across and swept up, right? We've seen that plenty of times last year. Now, I think the problem you've got is, do Rangers fans accept going to Parkhead and play and sitting deep and trying to absorb all the pressure possible and hitting them in the break? I don't know. I don't know if that was the approach that they took. I'm not sure if Rangers fans would be comfortable with that. Jock, what do you feel on that? Do you think if for example, if you were to play a system like that and it didn't turn into be a kind of modern day expansive 3 at the back, but it turned out to be an old school 3 centre backs heading everything away, how do you think the Rangers fans would view that?
I just imagine Twitter would be a riot.
It's always a riot. It's always a riot.
Well, that's true. That's true. It's always a riot, isn't it? Every day's a riot. It's just something we might have to get used to until we get the quality in. You know what I mean? We need to go there and get a result. So I'd rather go there and get a result, and if play poorly, if we say we play absolutely horrendous, but we get a result, you're going to take the points. You're going to take the result, aren't you? Because it's a marker, and like it's a marker for the run up to the semi-final. So if that's what we need to do to get 3 points and the result tomorrow, I'm all for it. I wouldn't care how we played as long as we win. I'd rather get a contentious penalty and win the game, and just to see the tears and the media. You know what I mean? That's what I want. Really.
I think we would all enjoy seeing that tomorrow if that's the way it goes. But yeah, no, that was a good discussion. I enjoyed that, and I think it's going to be something that we discuss going forward when it comes to Rangers in this back 3. We maybe don't see it tomorrow from the start. It looks like we're going to see it eventually, right? So it's good that the fans are getting involved in it and talking about it now. I just wanted to bring up this comment from Scott Cameron here, our very own Scott Cameron. Back in the 90s, that approach would work with Gaza, Laudrup and Super. Yeah, unfortunately, we just don't seem to have these level of players anymore. And Scott will definitely tell me we don't have those level of players anymore. So let's move on then to the kind of the team selection tomorrow. I think we've actually done pretty well. They're not really talking about who you want to play. So there's been a few discussions this week. We'll pick in a few of them now. Iain, I'll come to you first. We had this discussion on Wednesday when it comes to Borna Barisic or Ridvan Yilmaz. So this is a very interesting one because I can truly see both sides here. How do you feel on it? You did say earlier about potentially experimenting. Does Ridvan get the call for you tomorrow, or are we going to go with the tried and tested and Borna Barisic?
Ridvan gets the call for me. He does. I appreciate that Borna's been one of our better players this season. Has to be said. He's at least top of our assist charts. I'm not sure if he's the league's, but he's right up there. But he's up there because he hits 25 crosses a game into the box, and 2 end up going in. We won't have 25 crosses into the box tomorrow. We're going to be looking for more expansive, clever, intricate play, which I don't think Borna has in his toolbox. There'll be a lot of comments about how Yilmaz hasn't played for us much, let alone played at Parkhead, but he's came from Turkey. He's played 50 plus games for Besiktas. They have quite aggressive atmospheres in Turkey, so I think he'll be okay. And he's just got that little bit of craft and guile about him that I think can help to unlock Celtic a little bit. I don't think Celtic are amazing defensively, so I think there are holes there to exploit, and if we've got guys like Cantwell and Tillman running through, I think he's the man that can find them. It does sort of link back to why I want like a back 5, because then Davies is like your left centre back, covers a little bit, can help Yilmaz in case they try and target him in any way. But I'm sick of, I've said this in my last pod, I'm sick of Borna being on his knees in the box when Abada or Jota or one of the idiots cuts across him and taps it in. I'm not seeing it anymore. I don't want to see it again. I'm done with it. Quite passionately done with it. So I'm going for Yilmaz to start. I think in front of back 4, I don't think he starts. I don't honestly think he starts, but I'll be starting him. And I think he's the way forward.
You've actually made some really good points there. I think I won't bore everyone. I think I said on Wednesday I would go with Borna Barisic, but you've maybe kind of convinced me to go with Ridvan tomorrow. I don't know if that's just the pre-match nerves getting close to this fixture, but you've maybe convinced me that risk might be worthwhile tomorrow. There was a few comments there. One from Aldo McNaught. I think he's celebrated your opinion there like a goalie, and he clearly agrees.
Smart man is Aldo.
Yeah, definitely. Aldo knows his stuff. There was another one here from M Ward. Yilmaz is the unknown they won't expect, and I think that's something as well that we probably put too much emphasis sometimes on not a professional football player maybe taking a bit of time to bed in. I think that's fair for a lot, but some footballers are fine and you can throw them in. And I think we've seen that unfortunately to say, we've seen that with Celtic when they threw Alistair Johnston in earlier this year. I don't think he was great that day, but he didn't do anything that, horrendous, and he came into the fixture. So yeah, maybe we need to be a wee bit, I don't know, harsher with these players to say that, right, you're going in, you're playing. And I think you're right to touch on Turkey and the atmosphere over there. They are ferocious games. And yeah, that's something he's already sampled at a young age, so that's really good. There's another comment here from Paul McGarrigle. Yilmaz won't get any balls in the box. Doesn't matter if he's played in Turkey. Bigger players have crumbled, which again is a fair way of looking at it, I suppose. Yilmaz isn't probably the left back that's going to whip balls in. He's going to be someone that maybe tries to drive to the byline. Are we going to have enough of the ball to do that? Yeah, it's interesting. Jock, what about yourself then on this debate when it comes to Ridvan Yilmaz? Are you going to take a risk with Ian, or are you going to go with Borna Barisic?
No, I'd chuck Yilmaz and tell Paul to go and look at Yilmaz's videos for Besiktas before. I think it's the 2020-21 season. He can cross the ball in the box. Boy can deliver. He's just not had the chance because he's been out injured. And he needs, like you say, needs a bit of time to settle into the team. Just give him the opportunity. I'd throw him in. Like you say, you see some of the atmospheres in Turkey, the stuff they get thrown at you. The boys going to take corners, and there's the SWAT team with the riot shields covering them over just so they can take a corner. This old firm will be nothing. You'll be fine. Chuck him in. I'm excited about Yilmaz. I'm really looking forward to seeing him starting in the Rangers team especially for next season.
You both are extremely brave here tonight. That was just the first question. You have went for it. I like that. We're going to get some mental team lineups here, and I can't wait for it. There's an interesting comment here from fellow host Kyle. He's saying it's Ridvan's time to shine. So I reckon he's prepped you guys for this question tonight, and he's fed it into you that Ridvan's got to play because he's all over it all the time. So yeah, no, that's good. I see a lot of people are maybe different opinions when it comes to Ridvan. Another one from Curry here. Yilmaz can go by a man. Dribble, get into the box. Has not found his range crossing yet, but that will come. Again, that's fair. And I think, listen, the boy still needs time to adapt, but that doesn't mean he can't be thrown into a fixture to less than thrive. So, listen, that'll be an interesting selection tomorrow. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I'm pretty sure it'll be Borna Barisic. Yeah. But I still enjoy the conversation. And that is the whole point here. Okay. Next one then. I'm going to leave the main one till last. Oh, in fact, what is the main one? Right, I tell you what, we'll go defence, midfield, forwards, right? So we'll go with midfield then.
Are we not doing goalie?
No, I think we know it's going to be McGregor. I don't want to start the McGregor-McLaughlin thing. It'll cause a war. So let's bypass that. McGregor will make his 501st appearance tomorrow. I'm pretty sure of that, right? Let's have a talk about the midfield then, right? Nico Raskan was declared fit today, Michael Beale. And I think overwhelmingly for the Rangers fans that I've seen on Twitter anyway, would have Nico Raskan starting this game tomorrow, right? Jock, does Nico Raskan start for you? And who plays with him?
Oh, it's Jack, Raskin and Campbell.
100%. Is that an easy decision for you?
Oh,
no doubts?
No doubts, 100%.
Okay.
Nothing else to say. That's it. It's 100%.
Listen, that's fine. Short and sweet. That's fine. Ian, what about yourself then? Nico Raskan, does he come in?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Jock. I don't think there's too much debate here on what we want to see. But in the same breath, I'd be surprised if Lundstrom doesn't play, because I think Bale trusts Lundstrom in this kind of environment. This is the big thing for me. I don't know who comes out to put Lundstrom in, and I'm not saying I would put Lundstrom in. That's just need to get away from that train. That's not what I'm saying. But I think Lundstrom will play. So if I'm thinking in my head, well, Lundstrom will play. Jack's probably been our best performer at Parkhead over the last couple of seasons. He's had a lot of good games. There was that game he came on at half-time when I think we're 3-0 down at half-time, so there wasn't much to play for, but he showed the kind of drive and bottle that we need for that kind of environment. So again, he's going to play. And I just fear that Bale will kind of go a bit safer, given Raskin's new to the fixture. He's had this little injury. We don't know if he's 100% or not. I mean, declared fit, but how fit is that kind of thing?
Trained all week, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like I say, I want him to play, but
The hope.
yeah, it's a bit of that's the worry for me. I think when you speak about, like you guys said, if you see a back three, you'll see the team and get a bit nervous. If I don't see Raskin playing and then the result goes the wrong way, I think a lot of fans will start to turn on Beale a little bit, given what happened in the League Cup final. So I hope that it's Raskin beside Jack. I think that makes sense. It gives us a bit of creativity against sort of a bit more defensive cover that Jack will give. Likewise, Raskin can give that. But I think I will see Lundstram in that team and get a bit annoyed around 11:30 tomorrow morning.
Well, I think what's quite interesting about that when it comes to Lundstram and Raskin, that I remember that Hampden game, and when the team lineup was announced, it flattened the support that day. The belief of getting a result that day was completely taken away, and that's quite interesting based on kind of one player not being in the team. So, listen, I'm pretty sure Michael Beale has a good understanding of the Rangers fans now, and I'm pretty sure he has a presence on social media because he mentions quite a lot what the Rangers fans are talking about. And I wonder if that comes into his thinking. Maybe that sounds a bit ridiculous. Maybe he doesn't really care about the fans and he just picks the team that he thinks is going to deliver on the day. But if he thinks that the team is going to get a boost itself from Raskin playing something different, and again, you're going to get a boost from the fans, I don't know. Again, the fans aren't on the ground, so how much does it mean? I don't know. I said on Wednesday, very much the same as what you were saying in there in terms of when it comes to the match fitness. I think I'll go for John Lundstram tomorrow. Not because I feel that John Lundstram is a better overall player than Nico Raskin. I just think that Raskin's not been playing. I can't actually remember the last fixture he played in now. Was it the game at Hampden? I can't remember. May have been the cup game. Was it the cup game against Wraith? And then he was injured after that?
Yeah.
I think we're doing our best to try and remember this year. So he's not played for quite a while. And I do actually think if this is a fixture you're going into away at Parkhead, I think John Lundstram's best attributes are off the ball, right? I think when he's in possession of it, I don't think he's great. But I think off the ball is his best work. But what I will say is he's not played well this season. So he can have good and bad attributes, but if he's not playing well overall, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I think for me, I would go with John Lundstram, but I can totally understand the perception of the fans on this one. And listen, if I see Nico Raskin in there tomorrow, I'll actually probably get a bit of a buzz from it because, again, it's a new player and you know what he's capable of in these fixtures. So yeah, we'll leave that one. Is there any comments? I probably imagine I'm getting absolutely slaughtered there. But no, it's fine. I got it on Wednesday, so I'm used to it. Listen, John Lundstram will probably end up scoring the winner now tomorrow, and I'll be back on this. I'll just come on myself, and you guys can flood the comments. Yeah, okay. So let's talk about the last one then, the kind of last area up for debate. I'll come to you first, Jock. I was going to say Morelos or Čolak, right? Because I think most people feel that you need a number 9, right? Or a designated number 9, especially in a fixture like this, right? How do you feel about the Morelos and Čolak? Does one have to play for you, or are you thinking something different in terms of that front three?
I think I'd probably be old-fashioned and go for a number 9, rather than going for, say, Tillman through the middle or Sakala through the middle, because I think we need somebody maybe just hold up the ball just a wee bit. Morelos on his day, he's one of the best about doing it. Is he going to give us one last, swan song before he jollies off? I don't know. To me, I'd say it's probably going to be Čolak that gets the nod, because we expect him to be there next season. So that's the sort of vibes Beale's been sort of pushing this last couple of weeks. So I would say Čolak, and I'll go for the old-fashioned number 9.
Okay, interesting. Ian, what about yourself? How do you feel about that front three tomorrow? You taking any risks in there? Are you going to experiment with the forward line?
You know me, Ross. I'm ultra modern, ultra football manager, ultra. This is daft. I wouldn't have Čolak anywhere near it. I don't think he's suited for this. Morelos, I'm sick of like 50-50 Morelos. He's either good or he's terrible. So I wouldn't play him either. A lot of the comments, I've sort of seen where I'm going here, but I would have Tillman in the false 9, just to go super modern now.
Yeah.
In hope that was the comment I was thinking of, to be honest. Kent one side. I don't know if I'd rather Sakala one side or Cantwell pushed up a bit. But I don't know if that takes away from the midfield a little bit, so it's a hard balance. But yeah, Tillman is the sort of striker. I know you've been plugging Tillman as the number 9 for months now, so you
I know people have told me to stop now, Ian. They're like, we're sick of hearing it. You've been saying it for months. Stop it.
But I think he proved last week that he can be a goal scorer. He can hold it up. I think we would maybe miss him a little bit in terms of trying to recover the ball if he's just sort of an isolated striker. So I don't think he should be up there just hovering about waiting for the ball, which is why I think if he drops in, you've then got pace beside him, and then we know how Kent can play against Celtic. This is the one game that he does rise and sort of show that he's a £7 million plus player. So if he's the one that's in front of goal, getting a couple of chances, that's hopefully the environment he can shine. But like I say, no Morelos, no Cholak. I think Cholak showed in the League Cup. Again, he came on as a sub, so I'm maybe being very harsh on him, but I just think unless he's got the ball at his feet in the box, it doesn't offer us too much. And in this kind of game, as Jock said, you need someone up there to try and hold the ball a bit, give the defence and a bit of a break at times. I think Tillman can be that guy. And again, there's a lot of people who are a bit on the fence about Tillman, whether we pay the money. I mean, I think most want us to pay the money, but there's still a little crop, especially in our group chat. There's guys that aren't too sure of him, especially in the big games. If Tillman can get the number 9 slot here, have a good performance, get a goal or two, he's signed his own contract. He's going to be here if he wants to be. I think we'd all back that at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Ultimately not here. Ian, you're the man, very smart. There's a bit of a bromance here between Aldo and Ian. Yeah, typing on the side as we go. Yeah, there's a few interesting comments regarding the kind of front line. Thomas H here said neither in terms of Morelos and Cholak, I'm guessing. I want Sakala and Tillman with Kent in behind. Again, very similar. I think that front three could be. I'd imagine it would be very versatile and fluid in there. Louise actually queried that. Has Kent ever played striker? If so, how good is he there? I'm not sure. I know he's played on the last line before Ryan Kent. I think we all know with Ryan Kent is he very much struggles to put the ball in the back of the net. But he could definitely be an influence in that role. And I'm going to bring it up, right, because I just enjoy this part of it now. I noticed Curry here saying, him being called Raskan deflates me. So, Curry, you've told me that, I'm going to make sure I continue to say it that way. Okay, so thanks for highlighting that. I know you do it every podcast, but I very much enjoy that. Okay, so I actually, before we move on, there's a couple other comments. You know, Tillman and Sakala are most suitable Beale 9s. Good comment again from Thomas H. So yeah, I think most people agree with the kind of sentiment that should be the front three. Again, I don't know about you two. I'm not convinced of that front three. I think it might go with Jock, and we might see a Morelos or a Cholak in there. Probably Morelos for this fixture. But yeah, I would like to see Tillman in there. I think he has all the attributes to play that central role. And I'm just not sure that you want Tillman in the midfield three in a game like this. I don't think his best attributes are off the ball, right, and tracking runners. Can he do it? Of course he can. But I think you're going to get more quality from him up around the box. So yeah, just before we come to the teams then, before we select our teams, we need to talk about this because I see a lot of people in the comments, you know, talking about Connor Goldson potentially being out tomorrow. Of course, there's Kale's here saying Goldson injured would be a blow, although at least we have cover there, which is true. We do have cover there now. And I think if I seen John Suter in the lineup, I don't think it would be completely demoralised. But I would definitely feel our chances have lessened if Goldson doesn't show up. When we to pick our teams, we're going to go in the assumption that Connor Goldson's fit tomorrow, right? Just to be clear, because there's no confirmation of it, and we probably won't get confirmation of that till the game, right? But we'll start with yourself first, Ian. How much of a blow would that be if Connor Goldson doesn't make it tomorrow?
With him and Tav, that's the two that I think would really crush me, personally. I mean, like I said, Tav has had his poor days against Celtic, but for the replacement we'd have on that side, I don't think we'd do well there. But Goldson, not only for how good he is as a player, but the leadership he brings, the calmness he brings on the ball at times, Like, he's had a good couple of days at Parkhead as well. Obviously got his double. He's a threat from set pieces, which I think we've not really spoke about. Like, Celtic are a very small side. A lot of players who are like 5'8", 5'9". We could try and dominate from set pieces. Again, it goes back to Jock saying we've done that before. Play poorly, but nick the goal at set piece and get the win. So Goldson could help with that, definitely. But sort of agree with you. I think Sutter's shown he's capable. He's played at Parkhead probably as much as anyone else in the squad. And yeah, they'll be quite happy with Sutter playing. It ruins my back five theory because I'm not bringing Leon King in. So I would need to change my thinking a little bit. But it's a massive blow if Goldson's not there. And then obviously we're relying on Sutter not getting injured, which is daft, but it's very plausible. You know, he's not played a lot of football.
Yeah. So there's only a certain level of experimenting you'll do then. That's just ridiculous to suggest that you could bring Leon King into this fixture. That's fine. Just what I see with the line is. Curry Muncher here saying, a fit Sutter is better than Goldson in my opinion, which I am going to refute right now. He's not. But listen, that's what it's all about, Curry. Jock, what about yourself then? Conor Goldson, Ian's summed up really well there. It would be a massive blow for me. I think Conor Goldson comes across to me as kind of being the captain of this team without the armband.
Yeah.
And definitely in a fixture like this, especially I've seen that Ibrox, he's very vocal in these games. You know, how much of a blow would that be if he doesn't make it tomorrow?
Oh, it's a massive blow because the relationship he has with Davies at the back, you know, they've been building a really good partnership there. And let's say he always covers, you know, he's always on Tav's side to cover Tav. He's got previous goal scoring in this fixture as well. And he's one of few players that in that team that have got victories at Parkhead. So he sort of knows what to do with fans or without fans. So it would be a blow, but like I say, we've got cover now, thankfully, and a more experienced head with Sutter than you know, the young King that kind of got through into the team at the start of the season when Conor was injured. So it's all hearsay at the moment. Hopefully it's just a rumour that's come out of a WhatsApp group.
Listen, there's plenty of them flying around, so I'm praying that's what it is. Nicholas Moore here says, going to be a massive blow if Golden's out tomorrow. There was a comment here from Kel McLean. Genuinely, when was the last time we had everyone fit when we were playing them? I don't remember, and I think I seen that from JD 1963, which it might go back that far because I don't remember either. And just an interesting comment here from James. Maybe if Sutter plays instead of Goldson, he'll actually stick a leg out to cut out low crosses, unlike Goldson. I can't believe you've managed to remind me of that Europa League final in this preview, James. I really, really appreciate that. That was great.
Not getting enough going on an hour in.
Scandalous.
I felt there was a lot of positivity in this podcast tonight, and you know, all about experimenting with this fixture. And yeah, you've brought us back into here, so yeah, I appreciate that very much. Being a Rangers fan. Okay, right. So we're coming towards the end of the podcast. Ian, we'll start with yourself then. Give us your team lineup for tomorrow. If it was you in charge, what would you select for that fixture?
So McCrory in goals. I wouldn't. He is the last goalie that kept a clean sheet in Old Firm though for us. So if he's there, I'm not complaining. So McGregor, I would have that back five. I'm going to call it a back three, so it's less defensive sounding. So it's Davies, Sutter and Goldson. Your five in front of them is Yilmaz on the left, Tav on the right, with, don't know how to explain it, but Jack and Raskin beside each other, and then a sort of, I guess Cantwell sort of in between, sort of linking attack in the midfield, and then up front is Tillman with Kent just floating around. It sounds very all over the place, I get that, but it's kind of the point. I would want sort of Kent moving up front to let Tillman drop a little bit. I'd want Cantwell just floating about, being a nuisance really. And I think those three get the sort of flexibility to sort of do what they want in a way. Maybe press, try and stand on McGregor as and when they can. Try and get into the box when they can. But you've got that sort of back three with two guys in front of them who will support defensively, cover Tav, try not to leave Yilmaz or Borna exposed, whoever sits there. That's what I would want to see. But again, going back to it, I don't think we're going to see Yilmaz. I don't think we're going to see Sutter unless Goldson's injured. And I do think we'll see Lundstrom. So what I want to see is very different from what I think we'll see. But that's just my fluid, stupid football manager modern approach to this Old Firm.
It makes a lot of sense, and I think with a kind of base like that, the players that you selected forward there tomorrow in terms of Campbell, Kent, Tillman, these are all very, expressive players, and you probably do give them a wee bit more of a license to go and do what they like. Maybe not as much as we think.
That seems to be our bravest team. If I'm thinking about who likes taking the ball, who's not going to shy away from it. I mean, I know you're a big Kamara fan, so I apologise. But that kind of mentality is not what I want to see tomorrow. The sort of hiding, the safe passes, the backwards passes. That is not what I'm going for here. I'm going for fluid attack. Give me the ball, I'll do something mentality. And that's the best way I think that we'll win.
No, that's fair. I mean, I don't enjoy any Glenn Kamara slander. So he might be in my team when I read mine out. You never know.
I'll log off.
Jog, what about yourself then? The lineup tomorrow, what would you go for?
So McGregor, Tav, Goldson, Davies, Yilmaz, Jack, Raskin, Cantwell, Tillman, Cholak, and Kent.
Nice. That's actually, I think that's very different to any I've read today. So that's fair, and I can understand a lot of the feelings behind that.
Can't have Lundstrom in the team. I'm just fed up seeing Lundstrom safe passing. I want Cantwell and I want Raskin to be, taking the ball and spraying it and putting it into channels for Sakala and or for Kent and Tillman to get in behind, because that's how you beat Celtic. You get in behind them. Because you can get in behind the press. You get in behind the press. We've seen it over the last couple of years. If you can get in behind them, you get goals against them. And if you press them, if they can press them and press them hard at the park, they'll make mistakes because their goalkeeper is horrendous with the ball at his feet. So if you put that pressure on them, I think that's in my head. That's how we beat them.
No, that's fair. I can see a lot of the points of view from both of you. There's an interesting comment here from Curry. Ross, absolutely shocking. All three and none of you gave a mention to the match for Matondo. Well, listen, I'll be all over that if Rabbi Matondo wins the game tomorrow. I've actually tried to back him up quite a few times, Curry, okay? So, yeah, I think for me, my team lineup's going to probably annoy everyone. But I think my back five would be the normal, McGregor, Tav, Goldson, Davies, Borna, Barisic. And I think just because of Raskin's fitness, I would go for Lundstrom, Jack, Cantwell, and then Tillman, Kent, and Sakala. And you think if I was doing this properly, I would have probably wrote that down before I started that. But I had to do that in my feet there. So yeah, that would be my team. Right. So the final bit then.
That's what I expect, to be fair. That's what I think we will see. So I'll give you benefit.
Maybe that's my psyche. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe because I feel that is the team that it's going to be, I just start to convince myself that's the team it should be. Do you get what I mean? Maybe that's not the way I should look at it. I should probably try and be myself. But that's what I've been thinking about all week, and I think it's too late. I don't think I can change my mind now. Just a couple of comments here. There's one from Kyle. He's given his team. He's went McGregor, Tav, Goldson, Davies, Ridvan, Jack, Raskin, Cantwell, Sakala, Kent, and Tillman. So, interestingly enough, there's quite a lot of people that, and I don't mean this sounds like I'm criticising you, Jock, but there's quite a lot of people that are going with the kind of Tillman, Sakala, Kent front three, which that is quite a risk, especially in a fixture like this, not to have a designated number 9. So, listen, let's hope that Michael Beale has this sort of bravery tomorrow and we see something like this. So, yeah, let's go for scorelines then. This is where you really show how brave you are, right? So, Ian, what is the score going to be tomorrow?
I'm going to shoot for 2-0 to Rangers, but it'll be 1-0 for like the full game, and we'll be on the edge of our seats till like the 93rd until Matondo comes on and he gets the second. Yeah.
Oh, so one of those games I love where I'm nervous the whole time and I can't breathe.
We're not going to do it easy way anyway. Yeah. We're going to do it. I'll go 2-0, solid at the back with that nice back five in place, and then nice. A counter-attack and goal right to the death.
Nice, right. I like to hear that. Jog, what about yourself then? What's the scoreline going to be tomorrow?
My uncle always puts a bet on every Rangers game 4-1, so I'm going to say 4-1. It'll be 1-1 at half time, and then we'll go out and rip them apart second half.
Oh, guys, you might be getting clipped and put on Twitter tomorrow. By the way, just prepare yourself for that. No, that's what it's all about. Listen, you've got to be brave with these. I'm going to go. Listen, I'm terrible. I was speaking before the podcast tonight, just to let everyone know I'm terrible for nerves leading up to these fixtures. Don't enjoy them one bit once they're finished. I really enjoy the feeling once those games are over, of course, if we win. So I'm going to go 2-1 tomorrow to Rangers. I think as well as the same as Ian, I think it'll be a close game. But I think Rangers can steal a goal in the second half and hopefully go on and win it. So, that's us for tonight. Let's just see if there's any comments in here. There's a few words saying 2-1 Rangers. Morelos scores first. Curry Muncher there. He's went 4-1 for me as well. It's a fashion double. Cantwell and Tillman. Kells went with 2-1 Rangers. Cantwell on the score sheet. So, listen, I would absolutely love to see Todd Cantwell score at Parkhead because they're just going to hate him if he does one of those celebrations there. Nicholas Moore as well. 2-0 Rangers, Cantwell first goal. Can you imagine Cantwell and Tillman doing that American football celebration at Parkhead? Oh, God, it will be an absolute meltdown. But that's all for tonight. Everyone, thanks for getting involved. Really enjoyed it. I'm not quite sure if we are back tomorrow for our post reaction. Of course, if that changes, it'll be all over social media, so you'll be able to track it. The Sunday night podcast will be back at 8 p.m. You can find us on all social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can follow and subscribe to the podcast and all the usual podcast platforms as well. And listen, if you enjoyed it tonight, enjoyed the chat, consider subscribing, like the video. It really helps us out, and this is something we wanted to continue with. So that would be great. So all I need to do now is thank the guests. Ian, thanks very much. I appreciate your time tonight.
Not at all. No, it was a pleasure. 1 hour closer to kick off. Nearly there.
Aye, that's the way I'm looking at it. Let's get it done. Let's get it over with. Let's win this game. Jock, thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Aye, thanks for having me. Enjoyed it as always.
Yep, thank you. And thanks for everyone for getting involved tonight. The chat was absolutely flying, probably criticising mostly my opinions, and that's fine. That's what it's all about. But let's hope our team wins tomorrow. We get those 3 points, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.